maybe the thing to do is to actually run through what you do for a dude to hit a dude with a sword.
Yes.
Right? So,
And just so you're aware, we're a little bit further along than I think we were when we arranged this conversation, because with Tommy's help, we now have an algorithm for comparing
excellent.
opposed roll.
Okay. Well, that's kind of what
so
I'm looking for.
I have a
right.
Yeah, so I have a table which lays it out in the same format as the resistance table, because
Right.
that was so. Yeah, so just the total basics here. There are a lot of core resolution systems in the game.
There's 3 in the original RuneQuest, and they do not play nicely with each other. You're like, okay, we're doing potions. I guess we're over here. We're playing this game with its quirks now,
Yes. So this one has which I think is from RuneQuest Second, if I recall. It has the characteristic roll, where you're rolling against an attribute times 3, times 4, times 5, depending on the difficulty. It's got the resistance table, which is basically an opposed characteristic roll.
It's the classic classic war game table. Equal is 50, up and down from there. Done. Right.
You have your ordinary skill roll, which generally doesn't really have modifiers, right? So if you're just trying to do something in the world unopposed, the opposition is really represented by whatever percentage you don't have.
Right.
So it's in general, unless it's like dark or something, there are you're not really going to put on a lot of dinky modifiers.
Right. In the game as it developed, in RuneQuest as it developed, instead of saying you have like minus 20 to your roll or something, they did something. They were like, you have to beat your success by 20. Which is the same thing, obviously. It's a minus 20% to your roll. But they didn't, the role-playing vocabulary was not standardized. So
Interesting.
they just said it in whatever algebraic construction of the same numbers that occurred to them, and they wrote that down. And so later on, it just became absolutely standard that you would knock off 10% or add 10%. But that's not. But in 1980, that just was not in the shared vocabulary.
And I kind of like that locution. Yeah. Like you're still really good with your skill. Like you're still 75%. It's just you have to be like a little better. It's not like your skill reduced.
You see, it's a tricky thing because again, since what failing even means, we don't know it's because you did it badly. Or if the rock turned under your foot, we just don't know. What is that?
Yes.
Right. So so then the you can think of the worst way to say it and then come up with ways to not say that.
Yeah.
But then you're in these weird like epicycle ways of thinking, right? To try and explain what you're doing. But anyway, we've got characteristic rolls, we've got resistance rolls, and we've got skill rolls.
We also have opposed skill rolls, which are not combat rolls, but with opposed skill rolls, you're rolling against your own skill. You can get a critical, regular, a fail, or a fumble, and a special success. So there are these bands, and as you get better, they kind of widen, and you roll against your own skill, check your level of success. You're trying to beat your opponent's level of success. And in the case where you both have the same kind of success, then you break it by whoever has the higher.
Yeah, that is the Hero War. You have just described the Hero War system. That is precisely it.
It doesn't have the same. So I've only read Hero Wars. I really want to play it at some point, but it has the table where the difference is significant, right? So you have like a minor victory,
no, everything you just said
victory.
Everything you just said is Hero Wars.
Okay.
Everything.
Okay.
It's
Very
exactly
cool.
the same. The terminology may have trapped you in it, but go ahead.
Right. And also from Hero Wars, they have the idea of masteries. It's
Right.
applied a bit differently, but if you are
You can be at a
above
quantum
100,
of effect above another person. So your D20 is up here and their D20 is down here. Yeah.
but you don't bump your own skill up by mastery. You reduce theirs so
Right.
that you're down to 100%. So you're basically even with mastery, you're on the same table. It's just
Right.
that you're at 100, and then they've been pushed,
Right.
down the table.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Then combat has its own table where when you are attacked or when you roll to hit someone, you're going to roll against your own skill with like your shield, your weapon, and then you'll get, fumble, regular, special success, like whatever you get. And then on the table, it'll tell you how to compare that to your opponent's level of success. And then there are different interactions. So if you succeed on your parry, even if you succeeded on hitting you, it's going to intercept. If they get a special,
this actually
then
sounds a little more like this sounds a lot more like the original than I thought. It sounds a lot like the original.
The wrinkles are, on special successes and crits, you might be getting, you might be doing special damage.
Right.
You might be ignoring armor.
Right.
Even with a successful parry, you might damage their weapon.
Right.
So, you could get a situation where they parry and
all of this is from 1978.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And it's really fun. There's like the fumble table. Yeah.
This is classic. They just lifted it out of RP2 and picked it up and put it in. So that's good. But here's what we're looking at. Where the attack is 75%, the parry is 25%. So you do all the multiplications, you do all your algorithms, and then this is what you get. The big green box on the left is hitting the guy's flesh with your sword. And inside it, you will see that there's two nested boxes. One of them in the old text was called an impale. And then inside that is a critical. Impale does maximum damage. Critical ignores armor. And that's inside the impale. So the idea is you'd love to get an impale, but if you can get a critical inside the impale, then your maximum damage, no armor. Awesome, right?
Okay, very cool.
But that's the deal. But then you have this blue box, which is more or less in the middle. And that's when you damage their weapon. Because they got their parry up, but you have cracked their weapon with it. And then because your hit was so good. Then the next box over, which is now in the other colors, that's when you struck badly and their skillful parry cracks your weapon. Right? Then we move into that yellow box over there toward the right, and that's just nothing fucking happens. Right? You both fight poorly, or things go wrong for a bit. Nobody gets anything. No one sees a shot, whatever. Finally, way over there is the fumble. And the fumble, as you know, is not just hitting badly, it's the chaos factor, right? It's a situational thing. It's not really because you're bad at it, it's because combat's weird, right? So this is the way it works. Now, all that happens if you change the numbers is you just play accordion with the rectangles. And it's actually pretty logical. I mean, this is all you need to know, effectively. Now, in the original game, the percent for fumbles, the percent for impales, and the percent for criticals is derivative. So if you're better at, for example, if you have a 75% in your sword strike, then you've got a 14% for your impale. Because it's 20% of what you've got. I don't know if what they've done in the modern one is quite that calculator oriented, but I'm sure it's pretty similar. Also, is it with a D20 or a percent?
Percent.
It is.
Yeah, everything's a
percentile.
Okay. Yeah.
So what's kind of interesting about that is that everything in the original is rated in 5%, but these percentages start hitting subdivisions of 5% after all. right?
Okay.
And boxes are not in units of 5%. The numbers that play into them are.
Interesting.
Right?
Yeah.
Because of the 20% of your chance, your 5% of your chance. So, anyway, so it seems pretty similar in this regard overall. I mean, this particular feature. The interesting thing that comes to my mind, and always has, for a game with this many different systems. First of all, if you are rolling raw skill, does that mean that it's not opposed by anything in the world? Because if it's opposed by anything in the world, why not just give it a value and use the opposed skill roll?
Yep. And this is some that was on my mind as I dug into this, because I was coming fresh out of Champions Now, in which everything in the world can be rated. You can interact with it with body, knockout, and so on. Everything's got the strength rating. So I was thinking about this. I was like, could you do something similar with the resistance table?
It makes a lot more sense to me.
Even with something like the skill. Yeah.
To me, the raw skill roll just sticks out like a sore thumb.
Yes.
There doesn't seem to be any world in it, right? It's just and so it also, this goes back to 1978 and 80. I was reading these rules in 1980, which is the publication of my RQ2, and I was puzzled. I was like, wait a minute, if you've got a big ass rock, and your guy with 15 strength goes up there, and he's got a 75% chance, and you roll an 84, you can't pick up the rock. So then the weedy little guy with his 6 strength goes up there, and he's got a 30% chance, and he rolls a 14. Are you telling me that the weedy little guy just went up and hefted the rock the big guy couldn't? What the fuck is that even? What is the roll? What actually is the roll? What's happening so that these outcomes are possible? And the fact is, I don't think the game designers had any idea. I don't think they had any idea at all. And so the answer is, don't look for the genius in the design when it's not there.